Hi everybody, Dacob here. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to talk to you about Chanel bracelets. There are not as many as one would think, in existence a lot, but in the classic shape and form. There are just a few that kind of repeat themselves from season to season, and I'm not talking about the seasonal ones. For example, the last two summers we have seen Spring Summer 13 and 14, big round pearls attached to bracelets and little tiny threads of metal with these pearls attached. That's something that kind of comes and goes depending on how Lagerfeld and his creative team feel inspired or not. But we're going to see the classic bracelets, beginning with the biggest, chunkiest form of Chanel costume jewelry bracelet. This one is from the Fall-Winter 2005-2006 collection. It is a metal bracelet with enamel and crystals, and the shape of the crystals that give form to sort of star or explosion are inspired by the 1932 Chanel jewelry collection, her first jewelry collection, even though this is costume jewelry. This sort of bracelet is very big and heavy, and on the sample picture you don't see, but usually they have a magnet here, and they have a tiny little like a clasp or a lock there that attaches bottom and top of the bracelet once you close it. The newer models of this form of bracelet have on the interior, on the inside of the metal, like a padding, like a kilted matelassé padding, either in velvet or in satin. But the first versions that were kind of coming out in this re-edited form, because Chanel had similar cuffs during her lifetime in the 30s, 40s, made by Verdura, that resembled this shape. So that would be the biggest form, or the biggest shape of Chanel bracelets, and then they come with different adornments on top. Then the next one comes in this cute little Chanel box with a Cruise 2012 sticker on it. Even though the bracelet inside is from Spring Summer 13, but the inside also has a sticker. The sales rep just put them on because they were left over, I guess, and she wanted to just like pep up my little box. So this one comes in a little pouch. All Chanel bracelets come in this rounded pouch. I don't know, since Chanel started using the black boxes and different materials to package the products, maybe from this season on these are different. But up to Fall-Winter 13, they were like this. This is the bracelet. This is slightly smaller than the other one. You see, it's made out of resin. And another classic shape. They're slightly pressed on the top. They're not a full circle. They can be made in several materials, but mostly they're made in resin. And different qualities of resin. So be careful when you go to Chanel and you want to look at these, or if you want to purchase one of these. I would always suggest to get the ones that are most glossy and refined on the edges, that almost look like glass that's been like molded and melted into this shape. You also do have resin bracelets in this shape that are kind of more edgy and cut on the sides and are not as robust, so they can scratch easily. But you can just check every time you look at these shapes. You can figure it out. You just look at them, see them, inspect them up close to see if they already have scratches or not. So what you have here is like a Byzantine-inspired cross, also typical to Chanel. This cross is a seasonal thing. It was made for Spring Summer 13 in these colors, in these bubblegum colors. But you can find, that's why I'm going to turn the bracelet like this. This is your basic or your base for this bracelet, and it comes with all sorts of toppings. It can come with a double C, it can come with pearly things on top, a lot of charms, symbols of Chanel, and all sorts of things. This particular one came with a Byzantine cross, made out of gold and metal, with a lot of enamel placed in these cross sections, and 4 half golden pearls, glass pearls. The glass pearls have been coated with this pearly topping. I was told by a Chanel rep that if they were to scratch, because they're very delicate, they could kind of replace the pearly top on top of the glass pearl. So that's a good thing to know. It does have a double C on top. I have this particular bracelet because I love vintage Chanel costume jewelry, and this one comes as close as it gets to the 90s, early 90s, late 80s costume jewelry, because it has this bubblegummy, this is coral, it's described as coral color, but it's like a rosy, salmony, orangey, tiny bit of orange color, and gold on top. This is the most reminiscent I could have found in the past years to vintage Chanel costume jewelry. Love this bracelet. It's very heavy and very fragile. It comes with this double C lock, and when you open it, you have your authenticity stamp. They're very hard to see because they're so tiny. There, with country of origin and year of production. So you're always going to want to look for those if you're buying secondhand, of course. And this is how it looks worn. Power Ranger to the attack! Yeah, it's a Chanel Power Ranger. Anyway, it's very sturdy, but it's a very tight fit, so... and it is heavy. Chanel used to wear two of these, you know, one on the left, one on the right wrist, so you would have like doubles, which looks awesome. If you have the luck to be able to get both of them, that would be great. But they are very delicate. You have to be very careful when you wear them that you don't hit things. So this would be the second shape. Then we move on to another same pouch, because they all are packaged in these little rounded Chanel pouches. This one is from the fall-winter, from the cruise, 2012 Versailles-inspired collection. There you have it. This one is in resin. I'll explain to you why I have this in a second on the bracelet. Now, the inside of this bracelet is a seasonal thing. How the design team at Chanel, you know, with Lagerfeld decide to position all sorts of ornament inside of the resin, because you can see it's as if this double C would be floating inside of the resin. So how they decide to, you know, put the stuff inside, put all of the ornaments inside is a seasonal thing. But nevertheless, this is a classic shape. Let me take this out. This is the biggest resin form of bracelet that you could get at Chanel, and it's very difficult to make these because they're layered. It's a layer on top of layer on top of layer of resin. In this case, it was made with golden leaves or gold leaf paper or gold leaves. I don't know if it's 18 karat, 24. It looks kind of more pale goldish, goldish, so maybe it's 18. Not so sure. But in any case, they would have to put a layer of resin, then they put the gold leaves, have to place them by hand and have to be perfectly positioned, and then you got to put another layer on top and another layer. Then comes the double C with the glass pearls, and then another layer and another layer, and they have to polish and keep polishing because the resin isn't transparent. The resin is not see-through. It's like matte and opaque. I don't know if I should franchise it or what. Anyway, once they've polished it, they glossied it up, it becomes transparent, and it gets this beautiful, elegant, luxurious, candy-like shine and glow to it. And they are closed with a magnet. There's one there and one here. And you would have your authenticity stamp right there. It's very tiny, but there it is. Ding, ding, ding. And that's how you close them. So let's put them on. These come in different, let me just put it on. This is how this looks on. This comes in different shapes. This is the biggest form. Then you have half size, also with a magnet closure, and an even smaller one yet, which comes completely rounded like an entire circle. You can't open it. They're just a circle, and you just put them over your hand onto your wrist. What to say about this one? It is very fragile because resin can scratch very easily. You have to be extremely careful with these bracelets. And let me take it off. It has, again, an oval kind of, or elliptic, or how would you call it, shape that's a bit squished, so it matches your wrist. And The reason I put this here is because when I store it, I don't want these two surfaces to kind of scratch each other constantly. So I just put a cloth I use for sunglasses, and it protects the bracelet from itself. Believe it or not, you got to protect these babies from themselves because sometimes they do tend to auto-combust. No, I'm joking, they don't. But it does have this metal, see these wires in the back? So they kind of bring the bracelet back into closure every time you open it. So you have to keep this bracelet in a, in a dry place because you don't want this to, rust if it gets too much humidity. So that's a bit tricky. That would be the type of bracelet that is also in production, a bit less than the other one that I just showed you. This one, these shapes you can find more often at Chanel than these, but both are still available and very, very often in production. Now we go away from the resins, we go away from the enamels, and we move into metal. And we move into tiny, chains. Chains are a symbol of Chanel bracelets, and you get them in all sorts of shapes and sizes. For the example, or for the sake of the example, I'm using a bracelet from 2003. So this is you could say it's already vintage, kind of, almost. And this is a kind of Renaissance-y inspired bracelet, almost a bit gothic, if you like. And it is also typical to Chanel production in her very, very late life. One of her last collections in 1970, 71, before her demise, was Renaissance inspired. So in any case, this is not a classic chain. You won't see this chain repeated often or almost ever. Nowadays, Lagerfeld usually uses the more standard, chains that you would find anywhere, hanging off, heavy chains hanging off necks with just a classic interlock. But nevertheless, this is a very special example. So I wanted to show you a special example of Chanel metal chains. You can connect them, or you can attach it from here to here. So it has a different height. Let me put this quickly on for you. This one is not easy to put on alone. But it's doable. It's not easy, but it's doable. Yeah. It's not collaborating. Obviously, if something can go wrong, it will. Murphy's Law. So, there you go. That is how it looks like. You have this little tidbit hanging with a little chain. And you have your number 5 Chanel coin. And you have Coco Chanel on the other side. It's a dangly little thing. My personal opinion, it's kind of gothy, but to each his own, right? So that would be this form. Now we're moving on. We're moving away from costume jewelry and going into real jewelry. And I'm showing you the smallest form of chain, a little metal, silver in this case, bracelet. And this one has, let's see if it zooms. It will zoom. There you go. I don't know if all Chanel boutiques still sell little small silver jewelry goods in their shops, but in the past they used to, and they would come in these gray velvet pouches with the silver double C. And the packaging is not a black box like you would get now for costume jewelry. It would be a gray box. It would not be a black box, I'm sorry, but it would be a gray box with silver Chanel inscription on top, and you would get your silver product in a little pouch. They vary in sizes according to how big your product is. So this is the smallest. It can't get any smaller than this, basically. This is the tiniest Chanel chain bracelet you could get. And let's compare it to the biggest one and see it side by side. That's what you get. The biggest and the smallest. This always makes me laugh whenever I see it because it's ridiculous, the comparison. But yeah, so this would be your two extremes and everything else is in between. So that would kind of close this quick, how would you might call this thing? Retrospective on Chanel bracelets. I hope you guys like what you see. Subscribe if you want to see more, and if you'd like to see more, let me know what you think in the comment section below, and give me a thumbs up and a bracelet up for this video, and take care everybody. Bye bye.